The Blackburn Skua was the first monoplane to enter service with the Fleet Air Arm, as well as being its first dive bomber. It was designed to an Air Ministry specification from 1934 and was ordered straight from the drawing board. The first prototype flew on 9th of February 1937, followed later that year by the second, which featured a longer nose. The Bristol Mercury engines of the prototypes were replaced in production by the Bristol Perseus, as the Mercury production had been allocated to the Blenheim light bomber. By late 1938, some 33 skuas were operational, the first unit to receive them being 800 Naval Air Squadron on HMS Ark Royal, joined later by 801 and 803 squadrons. As was the naval doctrine of the day, the Skua had to have a two-man crew of pilot and observer. This, and the design priority of dive bombing, made the Skua mediocre in its secondary role as a fighter. With the outbreak of war, Skuas were sent to operate over Norway. On 10th of April 1940, Skuas of 800 and 803 squadrons flew from Hatston in the Orkney Islands 330 miles to the port of Bergen. There they attacked and sank the cruiser Königsberg, the first major ship to be sunk in war by air attack. A similar attack on the battleship Scharnhorst in June 1940 was a disaster, with more than half the attacking aircraft shot down after inflicting only minimal damage. The squadrons also had some success against enemy bombers and reconnaissance aircraft, shooting down types including the Dornier Do-18 and the Heinkel HE-111. Despite its lack of speed, it was slower than both the Junkers Ju-88 and the Savoia Marchetti SM-79. Skuas had reasonable success in the Mediterranean theatre, but by 1941 were essentially obsolete. They were replaced in squadron service by the Fairey Fulmar and the Hawker Hurricane, both of which had twice the Skua's armament and were at least 50 miles an hour faster. The Skua was relegated to target towing and advanced training duties almost to the end of the war. A variant of the Skua was the Blackburn Rock. Based roughly on the same airframe, this had a 4-gun turret in the observer's position, similar in design and operation to the RAF's Bolton Pool Defiant, although some 85 miles per hour slower. The Rock was deployed alongside the Skua in Fleet Air Arm squadrons, but was quickly withdrawn from service. Its sole confirmed kill was made on 28th May 1940 when a Junkers Ju-88 bomber was shot down by a Rock flying below it. The Rock was even proposed, briefly, as a float plane fighter, but its already poor performance was degraded even further by the floats, such that it was limited to 193 miles per hour, or 311 kilometers per hour, and the experiment was rightly abandoned. Sadly, no complete skuas exist today. The fuselage, cockpit and wings of one aircraft were recovered in Norway and are now being restored there, while the wreck of another recovered Skua is on display at the Fleet Air Arm Museum at Yeovilton in southwest England. In 1/48 scale, the only kits you'll find these days of the Skua are from Special Hobby. A new tool made in 2006 includes markings for both the preserved museum aircraft I've just mentioned, and in 2007 was reissued with pre-war silver wings markings. In 1/72 scale, the Frog kit of 1964 has proved remarkably long-lived. It has appeared under various brands, including Airlines in 1964, Novo in 1977, Donetsk Toy Factory and Keymatic in the 90s, Revell in 1996, Eastern Express in the early 2000s, and Ark models in 2012. Those molds must be really worn by now. Also in 1/72 is the Octopus or Pavla Models kit of 2002, as are the kits from Special Hobby, which arrived in 2009 and 2011 in the same markings as their 1/48 scale stablemates. For the Rock, things are more restricted, with Special Hobby kits in 1/48 from 2007 and in 1/72 from 2009. There is a Pavla kit you can still find dating from 1997, and this oddity from S Model in Poland of a vac form kit with resin details which appeared around 10 years ago.